In today's video, we're going over all the map changes inside of Fortnite from Chapter 1 to late Chapter 2. First off, we're starting off with Season 1, which actually started in early September in beta testing, with then the addition of a variety of different POIs leading up to Season 3. These POIs stayed in the game for a very long time throughout this season and lasted from Season 1 to Season 2. Until roughly halfway through Season 2, we saw a few new additions of new POIs, and that's these as follows. We saw the addition of Junk Junction, Haunted Hills, Snobby Shores, Tilted Towers, the shafts added into this season. Then after this, we head into Season 3 starting on the 22nd of February, and during the Season 3 period, we saw no new map changes until roughly towards the end of Season 3, where we saw the addition of Lucky Landing coming in at the very bottom of the map. Then Season 4 came along on May the 1st, and this is when things really started to ramp up. We had the addition of a variety of new POIs coming in with Risky Reels at the top, and also Dusty Depot being replaced with Dusty Divot in the center of the map. This lasted until May the 1st until June the 27th, and we had a lot of kind of smaller map changes moving around the map, and the divot started to get greener as the season went on. We also had the introduction of the hero and villain bases in this season. Let's move on to Season 5. Season 5 started around July 2018, and there were so many POIs added in, from Lazy Links in that north section, the Viking outpost on the left side, and even the new desert area, Paradise Palms, on that right side. Tomato Temple was also added in midway through the season, and as well as Kevin also spawned it right at the very end on the bottom right. Other than that, that was everything in Season 5. Moving on to Season 6, this is where we saw a lot of new POI changes, including Kevin himself planting so many different runes all over the map. The floating islands were added in, the Haunted Castle POI, as well as all the runes all across the map in Season 6. One of my favorite seasons as well. Moving on to later on in Season 6, we saw the corrupted areas beginning to fade to become overgrown with grass as the season did head towards the end. So with Season 7 arriving after the Season 6 event where Kevin's runes were left in the center of Loot Lake, we know that this season introduced snow for the first ever time inside of Fortnite. This includes zip lines, frosty flights, Happy Hamlet, and Polar Pete all over that left side of the map. Pretty awesome, right? Polar Pete also began to melt with the appearance of the Infinity Blade around the 11th of December. So there you have it, the map's changing slowly, and we're headed into Season 7 where the Ice King actually summoned an entire storm which covered the entire map. And then towards the end of the season, we saw the block added on the very right side and just a variety of different snow biomes all over the place. It was a very strange season due to the cancellation of the Infinity Blade, which changed up the entire event entirely, which changed up the season and made it a really strange season for map changes. Season 8 had arrived, and inside of Season 8, there was so many new POIs added in all over the place, from the volcano, the jungle area, Sunny Steps, and Laser Lagoon. Also, the block replaced the motel up at the top left, which was kind of cool. Also, the Viking home inside of Snobby Shores were added, as well as Ballers and Uncle Pete's Pizza Pit as well was reintroduced. Inside of here in Season 8 as well, we saw a huge change on the 27th of March, which was the Floor is Lava LTM. That's what it looked like. Pretty cool map, right? Also on the 10th of April, we saw introduction, for example, lava inside of the Dusty Divot and reboot fans. Season 9 was upon us, and this is where things started to change even more. The Neo theme was here. We saw Neo Tilted, Mega Mall, and Pressure Plant added in, all of these different POIs. Also Slipstreams. Also Polar Pete started to crack, and hotspots were added all over the map where you could go for better loot, which was pretty cool. Key changes here was Polar Pete the monster actually escaped and left footprints all over the map. The monster also did some damage to a few different POIs, with Pleasant Park and Loot Lake getting slightly destroyed, as well as Stranger Things portals and Mega Mall. Also, the final little bit I want to note is the monster skeleton was added, and also the 0 point was positioned in the center, which we knew as the orb at the time. That was over by Loot Lake. Now, heading into Season X, Season 10, one of the best seasons ever in my opinion. The new Frozen Meteor POI was added in just above Dusty. Also, Rift Beacons were added all over the map, and Dusty was reintroduced. Mega Mall also became Retail Row again, and Neo Tilted now became Tilted Town when that Rift Beacon was introduced there. Also, some key changes to note here is new Rift Zones were added with Greasy Grove, Moisty Myers, and construction of the rocket at Dusty began. Starry Suburbs was also introduced, one of my favorite ones, and I absolutely love that little POI added in at the top. That was it. We then headed into Chapter 2, and we saw so many new POIs added, as well as some of the familiar ones inside of this chapter. Let's quickly go over what we got. So in Chapter 2 Season 1, or known as Season 11, we saw Steamy Stacks, Frenzy Farm, Craggy Cliffs, Sweaty Sands, Misty Meadows, Lazy Links, Slurpy, Weeping Holly, and Dirty Dots. Also, there was a new corrupted area in the center with the Storm King added in for the October event. And finally, around Christmas, we saw the entire map once again covered in snow. Super awesomeness, I love that. And snow slowly started to melt as well throughout the season, starting in the lower sections of the map. But eventually, the higher sections was left with a little bit of snow on the hill, and it was all gone eventually, just like that. Chapter 2 Season 2 was upon us, and this was the first time we ever received any of the bosses inside of Fortnite. And this is where we got huge changes to the map, should I say. We got the grotto, the agency, the yacht, the rig, and the shark all added in all the different corners of the map. Some of the key changes here was the rig was actually taken over by Shadow, and the pipe man started to walk around the map. Clouds started to appear around the agency as well, hinting that possibly Midas's event was ready to go for the device event, which then led into season 13, known as chapter 2 season 3, which added in the water season. But this season had a few new introductions. At the rickety rig, Catty Corner had some major changes. The authority and the flotilla were all added in this season. The water levels also began to change each week, and you can see that develop here in the map picture. As each week went by, the water levels changed entirely with a variety of different levels, and it was amazing to see that different POIs were actually floating in the water and moving every single week. One of my favorite ever seasons for map changes, just because every single week POIs would be in a different area in the water. I loved it. One of my favorite ones in Fortnite history. You can see eventually, once the water had settled down and lowered, we actually got the new introduction of Coral Castle, and cars started to appear all around the map, which was kind of cool. Now, moving on to season 14, we had the introduction of this one, which was a great season. This was the first Marvel season we've ever received, and hopefully we get more. The Quinjet patrol sites were added in all over the map. Pleasant Park, Doom's Domain, was added. Stark Industries also fell onto the map over the right side, over the farm. Also, the authority turned into the ruins, which was kind of cool, where we saw Shadow Midas. Now, season 15 was upon us, and this is where we see the Sand season be added in, where Jonesy employs all the different hunters and warriors across the galaxy. Colossal Coliseum was added, Stealthy Stronghold was also added, Salt Towers and Hunter's Haven, and even Butter Barn in this season. Some key changes to note is the snow also expanded and then retrieved slightly in this season for some reason. Not 100% sure why this happened, but I guess it's because it's around the Christmas period once again. And towards the end of season 15, all of the 0 Point rifts were becoming destabilized, and it was time to summon season 16, where we got the introduction of the Primal season due to the event at the start, with the Spire getting added in the center. So new POIs with Bony Burbs, the Spire, and Colossal Crops, and throughout the season, we didn't really see too many huge map changes until towards the end, where Aurelia started being added in by Flush Factory down at the very bottom of the map. So you've got to look right at the very bottom here, at the very bottom left, you start to see an island slowly appear, and that's where Aurelia's island was added in. Other than that, there weren't too many major changes inside of season 16. It was quite a slow season for map changes. Then season 17 came along, which was chapter 2 season 7, and inside of here we got the alien theme season, one of my favorite seasons of all times, with Believers Beach, Corny Complex, and the Aftermath all being added in. Believer Beach obviously with Sweaty Sands transforming its name, and then throughout that season we saw a few introductions. Again, the map just getting a few different changes throughout as we went on. Holly Hatchery was also introduced on that left side as well, and even the Sludgy Swamp eventually happened as well. Parts of Coral Castle and Corny Complex were also taken up to the mothership and completely consumed. And then moving on to season 18, chapter 2 season 8, the brand new season we've currently got, we saw the introduction of a variety of different areas where the UFO crashed down and a bunch of different cube and cabins over the map. Some new POIs potentially being added there on the list, and other changes we saw were the sideways anomalies, the corrupted rifts, and Holly Hedges returned with its official name, moving away from that Holly Hatchery area. Other than that, that's where we currently are in the Fortnite map evolution.